Good afternoon, members, volunteers, staff, and guests. Welcome to the Atlantic Federal Credit Union's 82nd annual meeting. My name is Tom Perkins, and I am the board chair. I will be conducting the annual meeting. I call this meeting to order. We need 15 members present for a quorum, and I see that we have more than met the requirement. The Atlantic bylaws require an annual meeting of the membership to provide you, the members, an opportunity to connect with the board and leadership, receive an overview of the prior year's financial performance, as well as a forward look of proposed activities in the Atlantic Strategic Plan. Today's meeting is scheduled for approximately 30 minutes. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be available on the Atlantic website for members not able to attend. The agenda for the meeting will include a roll call, the election of board members presented by the nominating committee, and then a business meeting with a report from the supervisory committee, my remarks, a performance report from Atlantic CEO President Scott Cretion, and an update from the Atlantic Fraud Department on the shams and scams impacting members and the entire financial industry. As a reminder, the Atlantic financial details can be found in the Atlantic Annual Report. The link to the report is in the email confirmation for this meeting. I will ask Board Vice Chair Lisa LeBay to start with the roll call.
Thank you, Tom. For the Atlantic Supervisory Committee in attendance today, Rob Glenn, Chair of the Supervisory Committee, Ethan Minton, Secretary, Michael Kuzma, and Hannah Hauser. The following Atlantic board members are present: Tom Perkins, Board Chair, Jim McKay, Secretary Treasurer, Howard Dupy, Director, John Anagnostis, Director, Larry Littlefield, Director, and I am Lisa LeBay, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Lisa. I would like to have each board member step up to the podium and introduce themselves to the members and say a few words. Lisa, can we start with you?
As stated, my name is Lisa LeBay. I've been on the board for 6 years. I'm a resident of Bowdoin and am proud to say that I've been a credit union member my entire life and a member of Atlantic Federal Credit Union for 33 years. I've worked in healthcare administration for much of my professional career. I recently attended the Governmental Affairs Conference in Washington, D.C., and I was impressed by the commitment of Maine credit unions in sending representatives to this important and informative conference. While there, we had the opportunity to meet with Maine Senators Angus King and Susan Collins, and congressional representatives Shelley Pingree and Jared Golden. Each spoke of the work they're doing and how it supports Maine credit union members.
Hello, I'm Jim McKay. I am the board secretary and treasurer. I've been a volunteer for 13 years, and most of that time has been served on the board, except for a couple of years on the supervisory committee. I'm retired, and I'm proud to have been the chief financial officer of York County Federal Credit Union almost 20 years ago. In addition to the Atlantic board, I helped to oversee the Hollis Food Pantry with 6 to 8 other people. Food insecurity remains a never-ending need in my community of Hollis, and I do appreciate the commitment that Atlantic makes to the campaign for ending hunger in Maine.
Hello, I'm Howard Dupy, and I'm pleased to say that I've been a member of the credit union for over 30 years. I've served on the credit union directly for the past 11 years, serving 1 year on the supervisory committee and 10 years on the board of directors. In addition, I'm a member of the recently formed Atlantic Federal Credit Union Foundation, Last year, the foundation focused on assisting nonprofit community-based organizations in our membership area to reduce food insecurity, promote personal financial wellness, and generally support local organizations based primarily on staff recommendations to help them pursue their goals. I'm a strong believer in the credit union principles and believe Atlantic to be an outstanding leader in its field. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Anagnosis, and I've been a part of the board of directors at Atlantic for 8 years. I have been blessed with being part of the state of Maine all my life. I grew up in Saco, and today I live in Thompson. I strongly believe in a sense of community, both as an educator for 38 years and as a member of the Atlantic Credit Union. I have been part of credit unions as a member and part of the board for now over 5 decades, and know that credit unions play a very important role in supporting their communities. For the past 5 years, I've been honored to be part of the Atlantic College Scholarship Committee. These scholarships aid in assisting with some cost as students enter college life. As of 2023, we have awarded over $100,000 to high school seniors. I'm so happy to be part of Atlantic and look forward to being part of Atlantic for many years to come.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Littlefield. I retired in 2010 after 41 years of education, having served Maine schools for 41 years. And I've been a part of the Atlantic Board of Directors Supervisory Committee over the past 12 years. And during that time, I served as board chair for 3. My wife, Christine, and I have been married for going on 55 years. We have 2 children, 7 grandchildren, and just a few words about the board itself. In a continual effort to stay informed, stay up to date, and provide the best possible member services to you, the members, your board of directors attended the 2022 annual statewide Maine Credit Union League Volunteer Conference. They were excellent speakers at this conference, and they focused on board duties, board authority and liabilities. Financial services, of course, are the most highly regulated industry, and they are much more complex, as we know, than just a few years ago. So in this environment, the conference speakers emphasized how essential it is that boards stay well informed, actively work to become as effective as possible in their roles, and that role to provide the best services possible to all of you, the members. Rest assured that your board of directors takes these responsibilities very seriously and strives to provide the best possible member services to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And I'm Tom Perkins, board chair. Before becoming a director of Atlantic Federal Credit Union, I served beginning in 1994 on the board of York County Federal Credit Union and as its chair on a couple of occasions. I live in Sanford with Terry, my wife of 46 years. Before retiring a few years ago, my work career was spent with McDonald's and then with McDonald's largest distributor, adding up to 47 years. I enjoy listening to Jethro Tull. I'm a Raider guy, and I still have issues with the tuck rule. And Terry and I enjoy visiting Disney World almost every year. With 29 years as a credit union volunteer, it is a privilege to be serving with each of the individuals that spoke before me. It's an honor to be a part of the distinguished history of Atlantic board chairs who have helped guide the credit union to our successful standing within the Maine credit union family. I'd like to have Larry come back up to the podium to talk for the nominating committee report and the results of the election for the day.
Thank you, Tom. This year's nominating committee consisted of Tom, Jim McKay, and myself. we were tasked to fill the expiring positions currently held by Howard Dupy and one vacant board position. In the September 2022 end of month statement sent to all Atlantic Federal Credit Union members, there was an announcement that opened the nomination from the membership. Interested applicants were to solicit signatures from 1% of the membership, submit a statement of qualification, and a biography. There were no nominations from the membership, and after reviewing the service of existing board members, we, the nominating committee, submitted Howard Dupy to continue in his role as board member. Now, through a community referral from our commercial lending department, the board was introduced to Todd Alexander. After completing an application, multiple interviews, Todd has been nominated. A little bit about his background. Todd is currently the president of Renewal Housing Associates, LLC. It's an affordable housing real estate development company based in Portland, Maine. Todd has been a multi-family housing developer since 2003, and he has extensive experience building and recapitalizing properties using a wide variety of public and private resources of debt and equity. Also, Todd is a former board member for Community Housing of Maine and the Downtown Portland Corporation. His educational background: he has a master's degree in urban planning from Cornell University and a bachelor's degree from Colby College with a major in Russian studies. Todd lives in Portland with his wife, Catherine, and 3 daughters. Both Howard and Todd have indicated their willingness to continue to serve a 3-year term, and we certainly thank them for their willingness to serve as members. In closing, the nominating committee will ask the secretary to cast 1 ballot for each to serve the 3-year term on the board of directors. And before we do that, I would also like to thank Jim McKay and Tom Perkins for their support in this entire process. Thank you.
As secretary, I move to cast 1 ballot for each Howard Dupy and Todd Alexander to serve a 3-year term.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Jim and Lisa. All in favor? Any opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you. And now for the business meeting. I'd like to welcome the report from the Supervisory Committee and Committee Chair, Rob Glenn.
Thank you, Tom. As the Supervisory Committee Chair, it is my pleasure to provide this year's report. 2022 was a very busy and successful year for the Supervisory Committee, and that is also true for the safety and soundness reviews conducted. Auditors from Whitfleet, a public accounting firm, conducted an annual financial statement audit of our credit union as of December 31st, 2021, and as of December 31st, 2022. Both audits were accomplished based on generally accepted auditing standards for credit unions as prescribed by the National Credit Union Administration. The audit includes tests of the accounting records and audit procedures considered necessary for the period under review, and no material weaknesses were noted. Javier Silva, Federal Examiner for the National Credit Union Administration, our regulatory agency, examined our credit union as of June 30th, 2022. The final report was very favorable with no major areas of concern noted by the examiner. The Supervisory Committee is a volunteer group of members whose responsibility is to ensure all required financial reporting objectives are met and to establish and maintain practices and procedures sufficient to safeguard members' assets. The committee meets monthly with Kathy Simino, internal auditor at Atlantic, and has reviewed and been focused on the execution and review of independent external audits conducted by Whitfleet, our own internal audits conducted by Kathy Simino, an audit of Atlantic's 401k program by Wolf & Company, IT security, the NCA NCUA exam fieldwork, which was conducted in the fall of 2022, and the process of writing and establishing a new supervisory committee policy. Overall, I'm pleased to report the audits and information the committee has reviewed continues to demonstrate Atlantic Federal Credit Union is well-run and in a sound financial position. I would like to thank the supervisory committee for their commitment and dedication to safeguarding the assets of our credit union during the past year. I would also like to thank Kathy Holt for her years of service on the supervisory committee as she is stepping down from the committee, and welcome the newest member of the committee, Hannah Hauser.
Thank you, Rob. The Atlantic Board agrees with your assessment. Each of you received a link in your email with a recap of the 2022 meeting for your review. We will suspend the reading of the minutes of the 2022 annual meeting. If there are questions during the meeting, you will see an icon on your Teams meeting screen. The view may be different depending if you are on a desktop, mobile, or tablet. If you click on the icon and enter your question, we will provide answers in a follow-up email to you. This is our 82nd annual meeting. It bears repeating every year. The fundamental role of the board is to ensure our credit union maintains its sound financial condition. We are here to protect your deposits. We are the voice of our members, and we report to you. Last year, Atlantic became Maine's first credit union with over $1 billion in assets. With more than 4,800 credit unions nationwide, less than 9% have assets greater than $1 billion. For a credit union, it is quite a milestone, not because of the sheer size of the assets, but because it provides additional security to help support our members with better services and better rates for deposits and loans. In addition to having the resources to deliver a wider variety of services, the credit union must be equipped to invest in technology, security, and the staff for these departments. I am proud to report that in 2022, the IT and security department increased to a team of 7, and Atlantic created a new fraud department. Later in this meeting, you will hear from our Atlantic fraud lead, Beth Nyberg, on the myriad of challenges that exist for members and the credit union. While some fear that growth might cause a credit union to be more corporate and less personal, not growing can create other challenges. It is no secret that smaller credit unions over the past years have been tested by the prospect of shrinking market share and a declining return on assets. It is clear to the Atlantic Board that to remain strong, it is important to achieve the scale necessary to keep evolving and meeting the needs of our members. Let's be clear, size is not a detriment to delivering outstanding service. Navy Federal Credit Union, with 11 million members and more than $156 billion in assets, is highly rated for their service to their members. While growth is important and necessary, it needs to be managed smartly, which includes not growing too fast to avoid other issues. Finding the right balance comes from experience, education, and good strategic planning. As noted earlier during the introductions, your board brings a high level of experience with multiple professional backgrounds. Part of the annual board education last year included our review of cybersecurity training. While we are not on the front lines, it is imperative that we understand potential hazards and the plans in place to mitigate any dangers. The credit union maintains a formal incident response plan, which documents the strategies and resources for the credit union to respond to any adverse events related to the safety, soundness, and security of the credit union. The board also takes part in the annual training related to the Bank Secrecy Act. In 1970, Congress passed the Currency and Foreign Transactions Reporting Act, commonly known as the Bank Secrecy Act. By establishing standardized record keeping and reporting requirements by private individuals, banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions, the BSA is intended to safeguard the U.S. financial system and the financial institutions from the abuses of financial crime, including money laundering, terrorist financing, and other illicit financial transactions. Day to day, credit union staff must be mindful and report suspicious activity. There are monthly reports for the credit union BSA officer to prepare. Recently, Atlantic CEO Scott Cretion received a very unique letter from the U.S. Department of the Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, recognizing Atlantic for making substantial contributions through our BSA reporting in 2022. The information provided by Atlantic staff played a role in the successful investigation of fraud that led to a federal grand jury indictment. The letter did not provide any details due to the need to protect their investigative method, but they were clear in their praise of Atlantic, stating, "We hope this letter underscores the importance of your institution's financial integrity efforts and reminds everyone contributing to the anti-money laundering work at your institution, from the CEO to the frontline customer service staff, that their efforts truly make a difference each and every day to real people's lives." Strategic planning discussions with the board centered on a presentation by Mike Higgins, the principal of Mike Higgins and Associates, that spoke about the importance of having cooperative clout by providing member value and maintaining strong operating muscle. Operating muscle is defined as delivering a strong return on assets, achieving revenue growth, finding economies of scale, deepening member relationships, providing excellent products and services, and having adequate capital. Through his research, Mr. Higgins suggests and demonstrates that the most successful financial institutions are the ones who balance both member value and operational muscle and are able to achieve the scale necessary to keep growing, evolving, and exceeding member needs. It is easier said than done, and your board is proud that the senior leadership of Atlantic is focused on these important principles. As part of our continuing education, multiple directors participated in the Maine Credit Union League Convention, the Maine Credit Union League Volunteer Conference, and the Credit Union National Association's Governmental Affairs Conference known as the GAC. This is the premier advocacy event demonstrating to lawmakers how their policies affect the more than 130 million credit union members across the country. In 2022, the board also approved new member bylaws, created a directorship policy updating the roles of the board, resetting expectations, along with highlighting the importance of education, integrity, structure, engagement, and financial responsibility. Experience, education, and good strategic planning. These are the characteristics that represent your Atlantic board. Now I'd like to introduce Atlantic President and Chief Executive Officer Scott Cretion to provide his report.
Thank you, Tom. The annual report sent to you in an email with your meeting link includes the financials for 2022. I want to take a moment to touch on a few of our financial highlights for the year. Tom Perkins mentioned our asset growth to more than $1 billion. He is correct in his assessment that it is not about being the biggest. When York County Federal Credit Union merged with Atlantic in 2019, our mantra was stronger together. Both organizations' boards and senior leadership clearly understood that our future path to success would require strength in numbers. 2020 and 2021 were the wild ride of pandemic concerns. The Fed pumped a lot of money into the system to keep the economy running, and they kept rates incredibly low. As inflation caught hold in 2022, the Fed realized it was time to slow the economic engine. Rates first increased in March of last year, then again in May, June, July, and it continued. As of May 2023, there have been 10 rate hikes. Many pundits have said that 2022 will go down as the year that the free money era ended. We have entered a new economic period, and Atlantic is well positioned to help our members find success on their financial journey. Our financial strength has allowed us to open a new branch in Westbrook and help more people. Our strength has allowed us to increase staff in our commercial lending department to help more Maine businesses. Our technology investment in 2022 for video banking, in 2021 for a new digital banking platform, and in 2022 for video tellers in our drive-through has provided extraordinary convenience for our members. Video tellers are now installed at 8 Atlantic locations. These tellers are available Monday through Friday, normal business hours, and open on Saturdays from 9 to 12 noon. Topsom and downtown Sanford are next on the list for ITMs. When discussing our strength, I've heard people say, but Silicon Valley was powerful. They had $200 billion in deposits. But strength is not just about how much money you have. Yes, SVB had a lot of money, and because of it, they created a deposit risk. At the end of 2022, 97% of SVB's deposits were not insured by the FDIC. They were an financial institution specializing in tech and venture capital money. When SVB exhibited weakness, customers began to worry about their deposits. Through the speed of social media communications and the ease of moving money, an old-fashioned bank run quickly doomed that financial institution. At the end of 2022, I can tell you that 98% of Atlantic's deposits were and are insured. And we specialize in serving the people of Maine in our branch communities. Member deposits are loaned to our members and our business members. As I have often stated to our staff, it is good to be Atlantic. We're not complacent. We are staying focused as we look forward to the future and plan. If rates continue to rise significantly, the cost of borrowings will impact everyone. It will be challenging. Providing credit is our business. It is in our name. We are strong. Here's a quick review of the numbers for 2022. The total assets of Atlantic Federal Credit Union ended the year at $1.049 billion. Our deposit growth was 1.2%, which translates into total deposits of $894.6 million. Loan growth increased by 16.5% last year, or $106.1 million in net new loan growth. We had strong growth in consumer, mortgage, and commercial lending. A couple of items not included in the financials but are worth mentioning to you. Total dividends and interest paid to Atlantic members exceeded $3.8 million. That includes Atlantic Assasa members sharing cash rewards of over $1.9 million. Our net worth ratio is 10.05%, and based on NCUA classification, we are considered well capitalized. On page 5 in the annual report, you will see a certificate of excellence from the Credit Union National Association, highlighting how Atlantic, when compared to banks, provides $14.7 million in direct financial benefits to our members. The recognition from CUNA is about charging less for loans, paying more on deposits, and having fewer and lower fees. Whether you come to the branch, call us on the phone, video chat, text us, email us, message us on Facebook, or self-serve on our website and digital banking, we want to make sure you find Atlantic fast, easy, and accessible. While digital is the future of convenience, we do not overlook the significance of the human connection. We absolutely have high tech, but we want to also provide high touch. From the staff in our branches to the 100+ people behind the curtain, I continue to be impressed by our team. Thank you for your time. I'm glad you are part of Atlantic and chose to join us today. Before we wrap up, let me introduce Beth Nyberg. Beth joined Atlantic in 2022 as we recognized the exponential growth of financial fraud and exploitation in the US. We took a proactive approach to build a unified team to fight it, making our processes more efficient and member-focused, while being able to save on resources. We did so at the right time, since Maine started to experience the fraud growing in the US just months after coming together. Beth?
Thank you, Scott. I'm Beth Nyberg, the fraud team lead, and I'm here to discuss the biggest fraud scams we've seen lately. The first one being the felony lane gang. This is a gang from South Florida that will break into cars and steal wallets and then come through the drive-thru to impersonate their victims using the stolen IDs and debit cards. The second one we have is romance scams and fraudulent bank checks. The victim will meet someone online, they'll show romantic interest, gain their trust, and then manipulate them to negotiate fraudulent items such as altered checks or purchase gift cards. The Microsoft link scam. The victim will click on a pop-up link claiming to be a supervisor at Microsoft, stating that there is malware on their device, and this puts them in touch with a fraudster who will steal their personal and banking information. Fraudulent checks. The fraudsters will reach out to the victim, send them a physical check, and tell them it's legitimate in hopes that they will cash it and send the funds back, leaving the member on the hook when the check is returned. Large cash withdrawal scams and/or panic scams. There will be a pop-up on the computer stating a large transaction is coming out of the member's account. They're told they must move the funds to a cryptocurrency account for safekeeping and told not to trust anyone at the credit union. When the funds are deposited into the cryptocurrency account, the fraudsters will clean out the account. Some of the things Atlantic has done to mitigate fraud are by creating a fraud team. We have created a specialized fraud team of 4 whose main focus is fraud. The fraud team is able to provide more training and resources for frontline staff. In addition to this, we have seen a change the way that we have check holds. You may have noticed a shift in our check hold policy to ensure that when an item is believed to be fraudulent, we are protecting the member from financial harm or loss. There were $892,000 in losses that were prevented for our members in 2022. Some basic tips we recommend to help you from falling victim to fraud are to never give out your information if you do not know who you are talking to. If you're unsure, hang up and call the phone number listed for that company. Government agencies will never call to say you have a warrant or are in any legal trouble. Be sure to keep your car locked when unattended and keep personal belongings such as a wallet or purse in a secure and hidden area. Don't click on any links that pop up on your device screen. If you have any specific questions or concerns in your life, please reach out to Atlantic and we'll do our best to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. This concludes the meeting. As a reminder, if you have a question, you can submit it in the Q&A section. We will respond and send an email to all who have signed up to attend the meeting. We will also include a link to the recording of this meeting. Thank you for attending. I now adjourn the 82nd annual meeting of Atlantic Federal Credit Union.